Hello everyone, it's Cam from Arsenal Theory Podcast, and we're doing a kind of breakdown review of Chelsea-Arsenal from Saturday evening. An incredible game, lots of drama, like I predicted in my pre-match discussion on the game. So let's get down to business. The strong team that Arsenal fielded on the Saturday, I was very, very happy with the team. We had David Raya kept his place in goal, which I fully expected. Ramsdale had a baby, or his wife had a baby, so he wasn't even in the squad. So that was an easy decision for the manager to make. William Saliba and Gabriel at centre-back. There were rumours Saliba wasn't going to make it because of a broken toe, but he played through the pain and started the game. Fantastic. Ben White at right-back as usual, although he's got a new Barnet, which I'm not too keen on, to be honest. But that's down to him. It's none of my business. And Zinchenko at left back. So in terms of defence, pretty first choice. We had in midfield Martin Odegaard, Declan Rice, and Jorginho. At first, I was a bit disappointed with Jorginho starting. I wanted Thomas Partey in there, but then realised he'd played quite a few minutes on international break away in America and Ghana, all that travelling. He's got dodgy hamstrings. Chucking him in against Chelsea away on a wet pitch probably would have ended in disaster. Plus, we're playing Seville tomorrow as well. So I'm sure the manager had that in mind. So looking back on it, probably starting Jorginho wasn't the worst decision in the world. So I can accept that. And we had our top front three for the first time this season of Martinelli on the left, Gabby Jesus up front, and Bukayo Saka on the right. So Martinelli and Saka overcome fitness test to start the game. So that was nice to see them three starting. However, instantly, as always with Arsenal, instant bad feelings. So one thing for watching Arsenal, and if you watch a lot of Arsenal, which I'm assuming you do, you can, if you're watching this video, is you can normally tell what's going to happen, how we're going to play from the first kind of 2 or 3 minutes. And you could tell straight away that we were just not at the races at all. The concentration seemed a bit below par. The intensity wasn't there. It looked like they just rocked up essentially and didn't really know their roles and what they were doing and didn't really have much of a game plan. And Chelsea looked the exact opposite. They had high intensity. They looked like they had a game plan and they looked very, very confident. And they really, really went for us and kind of suffocated us in the midfield. Martin Odegaard really didn't. He had such a bad game. I mean, it was like, I don't mean to sound harsh here, but it was like playing with 10 men. He just couldn't get anything going. It was too pacey for him. He's usually pretty good on the kind of closing down and being the first line of defence. But even that seemed a bit subpar. I've read online, some people were saying that this has been a bit of a pattern after international games. I don't have any data to back that up with, but I'm sure the club does. And it's a worrying concern because he didn't really play well against Spurs. He's not played well against Chelsea. There's been a couple of games this season where if he's not scoring a goal, you just kind of wonder, well, what's he doing here? And now I don't know if this is to do with he's being affected by Thomas Partey not being in the team. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but his dynamic with Saka was just non-existent, and I don't think it's particularly that great anyway. But it wasn't there at all on Saturday. I've kind of jumped a bit on Odegaard there, really, and maybe that's a bit harsh. Not in terms of, I agree with what I say about his performance, but there were other players as well that really were pretty bad. So, like I said at the beginning of the game, you can normally tell how it's going to go. And I think Declan Rice just put a ball out for a throw-in within the first kind of couple of minutes. And I think he did that against City as well, actually. So that's something he needs to keep an eye on. Zinchenko tried to play the ball out from defence. And instead of passing out, he was trying to dribble with it out, near his penalty area almost, to the left of the penalty area. Got dispossessed on the edge of the box. Chelsea nearly score. Just kind of like sort of asleep at the wheel, really. He got an early booking, which didn't help things either. He couldn't really offer any influence on the game. One of the reasons you have, it sounds silly, but you don't have Zinchenko in your team as a left back for his left backedness, his defensiveness, because he's not particularly great defensively. It's for the control you get from his inversion into midfield. So if he's not supplying any control through doing that, then it's just kind of a waste having him there at left back. And you know what? I think the manager agreed with me because he hooked him at half time. Now, the manager after the game said, he'd been booked and Chelsea would target him. That's why he took him off. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe he saw how the play was going and he just wasn't offering anything and brought Tomiyasu on for more solidity. So yeah. Now, in terms of the rest of the defence, Saliba and Gabriel looked a bit jittery. They looked a bit unsure. Ben White looked committed, but he wasn't really able to get anything going with Saka. But we'll come on to Saka later on. But Saliba, unfortunately, was involved in the first kind of major incident, which was the handball. I don't think it was a penalty. The reason I don't think it was a penalty is because I don't believe a couple of reasons why. Firstly, the ref didn't give it on the field. Now, I thought decisions are only overturned for what are classed as clear and obvious errors. And not giving that as a penalty, I don't think is a clear and obvious error. I think it's one of those where it can be given, it can't be given. So it goes to VAR. We look at it for ages, can't make their mind up. They then get the ref to look at it on a replay. The ref's looking at it for a long time, trying to decide if it's a penalty or not, and he gives it. And he was always going to give it. The second reason why I don't think it was a penalty was I don't believe his arm was in an unnatural position. He's jumping with Mudryk to head the ball. They've both got pretty much the same physical kind of shape when they're doing the jump. Their arms are in very similar positions. It wasn't unnatural. There's nothing to say that he shouldn't have had his arm up, considering what he was doing with jumping. In fact, he should have his arm up while jumping. There was absolutely no reaction time to be able to move his arm out of the way when Mudryk heads the ball. So to me, it's not a penalty, but he gave it, and Cole Palmer very well to just wrong foot Raya and slide it in 1-0. The reason I wasn't more upset about the decision was because we really had been playing pretty shite. We've been terrible and we couldn't really complain. We deserved to be losing, put it that way. So yeah, but it definitely, to me, it was not a penalty. So in terms of the front three, so we've had Zinchenko had a bit of a stinker. Odegaard, who's just disappeared. Jorginho was trying. Declan Rice didn't have a great first half, but again, he was trying to kind of play his way out of it. The front three, though, Saka, Martinelli, and Jesus, were just, I don't want to say disgrace, but they were just horrifically bad. I mean, Saka was getting no change out of Cucurella at all. Just got completely shadowed out of that first half. Nothing he was trying was really coming off. He couldn't seem to get round him or come in on the inside. But he didn't really have, the only option he had was Ben White. Odegaard wasn't really giving him any kind of underlapping options to help do like a 1-2 with or anything. Gabby Jesus, terrible. He normally plays really, really well against Chelsea. Just didn't offer anything, didn't look dangerous, was dropping way too deep again, keeps doing that. Really pisses me off. It's like, you're a number 9, you're supposed to be a striker. You can't score a goal if you're in our half, sometimes on the edge of our area, picking up the ball to get something going. It's ridiculous. And then Martinelli huffed and puffed, but again, was being a bit greedy, I thought. And I think Saka as well. I think Martinelli and Saka both got into a situation where I think they were getting marked out of the game a bit and weren't getting the better of the Chelsea fullbacks, and kind of took it personally, but couldn't really do anything about it. So they were kept trying to fix the problem themselves. Instead of going, okay, I can't seem to get past my man here. Let's see if we can maybe do like a 1-2 around him, like a triangle around him or something. Someone come deep, lay it off, go around, something like that. But they didn't. They just kept trying to beat them each time, and it didn't really work at all. So it was, to be honest, to finish the half 1-0 down, I wasn't too disappointed because it could have been a lot more. And, you know, at half time, I was fully expecting there to be several changes. There was only one change, which I kind of mentioned earlier on, I think, which was Zinchenko coming off, which again, I was surprised at because I didn't think that we could change what we were doing without changing the personnel. There was obviously something wrong with the players. And I think that something needed to be done. And he took Zinchenko off. Okay, at least he did that. Tomiyasu came on. He's been brilliant recently. But not much change there either, really, though. So Mudryk, which I'd mentioned in my pre-match video, was destined to score, and he did with a delightful cross shot. Now, I don't really blame Raya that much for this. A lot of people are kind of slating him for his positioning on the goal. But, you know, 9 times out of 10, that's not going to end up with him being lobbed like that. I don't even believe Mudryk really kind of meant it. He said afterwards that he'd been told that the goalie's prone to coming off his line, which he's told to do by the manager, by the way. So I don't look at him and think, oh, you idiot, what were you doing there? It's like, oh, he's been caught out. So we're 2-0 down, and really, really bad situation. And now you're thinking, well, the game's kind of done, really. It's really, really done. So we he brought on Havertz and Trossard initially, and then Smith Rowe came on later on as well. Odegaard went off, thankfully, because it was terrible. And Martinelli went off. He kept Saka on, and that was a good decision because a lot of people, including myself, would have been happy if Saka went off because, again, he really wasn't getting much change out of anyone. So we get to some more drama. Gabby Jesus is completely wiped out by the goalie at neck height. Goalie gets nowhere near the ball from a corner. At the same time, Tomiyasu is having his shirt pulled by another Chelsea defender. And the ref doesn't give a penalty. VAR doesn't get involved, and it's all just kind of swept under the carpet. I've heard online that the FA are going to be, the referees are going to be issuing an apology. This was just exactly like, in fact, worse than the Man United Onana against Wolves at the beginning of the season. It's just a horrifically dangerous tackle. It's a red card. I mean, it's not even like that's a red card. He could have knocked him out. He could have knocked him out. Such dangerous play. And then really, Chelsea potentially could have been down to 9 men. Cole Palmer on Odegaard in the first half rakes him down the back of the ankle. Easily could have been a red card. Seen them given, and then I don't know what. I don't know why they didn't give the penalty. Is it incompetence or is it corruption? And people always think that, when you say it's corruption, you're just a conspiracy theorist, or you think everyone's out to get you. I do think Arsenal get the worst decisions out of most of the major clubs. I don't think we get more of them. But it has to be corruption. I just don't understand how you can see that and not give it. Now, that doesn't mean that the referees are necessarily on the take or anything like that. I'm not suggesting they're being paid money or anything. But there just could be all sorts of reasons why a ref wouldn't give it. We've seen refs come out. I think Mike Riley has come out and said that there are decisions that he's not referred before because he didn't want the on-pitch ref, to look bad. So maybe they're trying to save him an embarrassing decision. But it'd be interesting to see what Pogba will say about this, because not only was it a red card, it was a penalty, it was a red card. It's one of the worst challenges you'll see all season. But same old Arsenal, we don't get fuck all from the refs. So we're 2-0 down. They should be down to 10 men, and we should have had a penalty, but it hasn't happened. And out of nowhere, we're back in the game. Now, I always felt that the Chelsea goalie was going to give us a sniff, was going to give us a chance, and he did, with a terrible clearance. Went straight to Declan Rice. Declan Rice has still got an awful lot to do here. And that's what £100 million gets you, because most players would have taken a touch. They would have taken a touch, tried to lay it off to someone, and just messed it up. He didn't. He knew. He thought. He didn't think. He thought quick, but he didn't really almost think about it. Just bang. Got a lovely curl on it, straight into the corner of the net. Do you know, even if the goalie had actually been in the goal, I'm not sure he'd even been able to have saved it. It was that good a strike. And suddenly we're alive. You know, there's sort of 15 minutes to go with injury time, a bit more. 2-1 back in the game. It's game on again. So at this point, Eddie Nketiah has come on as well. So that's fantastic because he's got a good record against Chelsea. And he nearly scored. But I'll come on to that because that was after the equaliser. Now, this is why you keep Bukayo Saka on in a game, I suppose, is because he finally manages to produce a moment of magic. So I think Raya has gone long with the ball. It's gone to Havertz, who has chested it down nicely, won his duel, laid it off, got it back, played it back into Saka. Saka cuts in. Lovely cross to the far post, and Trossard is there just to toe poke it past the goalie. Goalie should have saved it, but he didn't. And it's 2-2, and there's 10 minutes. There's 10 minutes to go. Eddie goes through 1-on-1. It's a terrible angle. It's not a great angle for him, but goes just past the post. And then at that point, you know, we weren't able to just get that. We weren't able to get that winner. So Chelsea, do you know what? Chelsea played really, really well. If they play like that, they're going to be fine. They'll be in and around the European places, Champions League places. The only thing I would say about them getting Champions League is their goalie. Their goalie could cost them. It could cost them big time with that. I think they need a better goalie. Ironically enough, probably Ramsdale, but I can't see us selling Ramsdale to Chelsea. Not, we're talking silly money here, like the kind of money they paid for Kepa, which was like 90 million or something like that. Otherwise, he's going nowhere. So, yeah, so fair play to Trossard. I mean, what a player he is. You know, comes in cold off the bench, gets into a beautiful position, makes it happen. Do you know what? When it scored, I thought it was Smith Rowe that got the goal, because they're kind of like, they both sort of looked similar at that point to me when I was watching it on the telly, and I thought, oh, is it Smith Rowe? Is it Smith Rowe? But then it was Trossard. I was like, oh, I'm still happy to get the goal. So, and Smith Rowe looked tidy when he came on. He wasn't spectacular, but he wasn't awful either. He was certainly as good or not better than anyone he'd replaced. So that was nice to see it. And then Mikel brought him on reasonably early for someone like Smith Rowe, which you don't normally see. He got a good chunk of time there. So I'm hoping that means that in training, Mikel was seeing more and trusting him. And Vieira wasn't on the bench, so I don't know why. I don't know if he was injured or something. So yeah, it was nice to see Smith Rowe get on. But I want to go into something here with goalie, the Raya Discourse. Now, there were chants. Arsenal fans were chanting Ramsdale's name during the game, which I think is just pathetic, to be honest with you. He had the goal, obviously, which wasn't great. And then there was a scenario where he made a pretty shocking pass to Cole Palmer and nearly gave Chelsea a third goal at that point, I think it would have been, and managed to recover the situation. So he made a mistake, but then was able to make up for it. He made a really good save against Jackson, who he essentially managed to kind of like take the ball off his toes. And I believe if Ramsdale had done that, he'd have given a penalty away. So I got some stats here on Raya versus Ramsdale from Le Grove Online. Who, if you don't know who Le Grove is, please check him out. He's a fantastic Arsenal writer and blogger and YouTuber. Really, really cool stuff. And this is one of the reasons why, let's just hide that, why I just don't see Ramsdale getting back into the team. So it's a comparison from, they both played 6 matches in all competitions. Let's look at the passes. So you're getting a lot more passes out of Raya than you are of Ramsdale. It means Ramsdale's going longer more often. And that's not what the manager wants, I don't believe. So not only is So we got more successful passes as well. Even though Raya is making more passes, he's making more successful passes. Accuracy is higher. The long passes is more as well, which is pretty good. Successful long passes, nearly double. Long passing accuracy. I mean, the goals that we have created quite a few goals this season with Raya and Havertz, and Raya going long, getting Havertz being able to control it, lay it off, and then something happens. So, and you can look at the possession loss stats there, and it's quite clear that based on the stats, Raya is ahead of Ramsdale. Now, when you're watching the game, it might not necessarily feel like that. However, I felt whenever Raya has made an error, I think he's recovered quite well. He hasn't made an error, tried to overdo it and give a penalty away or get sent off, for example, which a lot of goalies are capable of doing. So, but what I will say is Raya hasn't come in and made it like unquestionable that, okay, this spot is mine, this position is mine, and I'm clearly the better goalie, and I clearly deserve to be number one. He hasn't done that, and it would be dishonest of me to say that he has. However, I think people have very short memories when it comes to Ramsdale. I think the fact he's English helps him in that regard. But people are going, Ramsdale didn't do anything wrong, and he's been dropped. That's bollocks. He did loads of things wrong. Do you not remember last season? All the errors he made, passing the ball to the opposition team in the first 30 seconds against Southampton, for example. Terrible. We're in a title charge here, and you've just done that. Ruined it. Beginning of the season against Fulham, getting caught out. It's just so many errors, and so many shots where you're thinking, oh, he should have done better there. And I know he has these world-class saves that he makes. He does make world-class saves, but he also makes world-class counters in pressure situations. And I never really felt that he calmed the back line or acted in a particularly confident manner when things were going against him. And he's not doing what the manager wanted him to do. And that's why a new goalie has come in. Now, whether Raya should have been the goalie or not, okay. What is the difference between the two of them? I don't think it's great. I don't think it's big. I don't think Raya is like miles and miles ahead of him by any stretch. But he is ahead of him. And I don't think we'll sell Ramsdale in the winter, but come summertime, if he's just playing like FA Cup and Carling Cup games or dead rubbers in the Champions League or whatever, then yeah, he's probably going to go, because it's too much of an asset to have on the bench when you could get an awful lot of money for him. And he's on a long contract, so we don't have to sell him. So if anyone wants him, if anyone wants to buy a ball-playing goalie, which he is and which he can be, then you're going to be looking at Ramsdale. So we're in a really, really good negotiating position. He'd probably be the biggest sale we've had if it happens. I'm not even saying I want it to happen either, but like I said, people have got short memories on this. They really, really have. So yeah, that was it really. In the end, 2-2. Is it a point gain? Is it 2 points dropped? It's a bit of both. Chelsea did play really well, but man, we should have had those penalties, and we gave them a couple of goals as well. So overall, can't be too down on the result. In terms of the performance, shockingly bad. And we've had a few of them this season. We've not been that great, to be honest with you. I think the Forest game at the beginning, we weren't great. Against Fulham, we drew. We weren't great. Against Tottenham, we weren't great. Against Lens away, we were terrible. Weren't great. And then, yeah, Saturday, we weren't great either. So we've had more poor performances than we've had good performances, yet we're kind of second in the league and unbeaten still somehow. It's pretty incredible, really, when you look at it like that. So there's clearly stuff to work on. The manager in his post-match interview looked really, really, Mikel looked pissed. he didn't look happy. And I couldn't figure out if he wasn't happy with the team or the refs or everyone or himself. But he needs to make changes. He needs to make some big changes. And I think Havertz needs to come into the team. But if he comes in, he needs to come in, I think, as a striker. Because he links up the play so well up front. And I don't think we're missing. It's not like, oh, we can't drop Jesus because we're going to miss his goals, or we can't drop Eddie because we're going to miss his poaching goals either. It's like neither of them are really scoring that many goals. So what are we losing here? His best performances have been when he's gone up front. Happened against City in the Charity Shield and the other week. Yes, on Saturday when he came on against Chelsea and kind of went up top for a bit as well. So Smith Rowe, I think the connection that he has with Saka is incredible, and we're not seeing the best. We could see more from Saka as well if we could get Smith Rowe involved in the game. He would give him an underlapping option. We have Ben White going on the outside. We could have Smith Rowe coming in on the inside. Imagine Smith Rowe running in on the inside. Chelsea players got run with Smith Rowe. That creates more space for Saka to cut inside with his left foot, because you're not getting that with Odegaard at the moment. Odegaard's staying central, looking for something to come across to bang in. So Mikel's made himself some difficult situations to deal with, but that's why he gets paid the big bucks. So look, I think I'll leave it at that. I've been going on for a while now. Thank you very much for watching. And we've got Seville tomorrow as well. Fantastic. So I may try and do a video, live video straight after the game, see how late it finishes, how tired I am. But look, if you enjoyed the video, please comment, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.